I've been wanting to do this one for a long time, and this is straight from my heart to yours. Today, we're counting down 7 landmark performances that for one day turned stadiums into sanctuaries. Starting in the neon decade, we'll revisit lightning strike reunions that nobody believed would ever happen. Moments where bitter grudges melted away under the weight of a single set list. We'll witness a once-in-a-lifetime farewell where the headliner literally ruled the venue from a throne. We'll drop in on a confessional acoustic set that followed years of silence from a band whose scene had pretty much died. And it became one of the most gut-wrenching and unforgettable concerts of its era. And we'll relive a rain-soaked halftime show where the singer didn't just deliver the greatest Super Bowl performance of all time, he seemed to command the weather itself, turning a torrential downpour into the perfect moment for the event. Nobody cared who played or won that Super Bowl. They remember this legend. And 3 years before that, he blew half a dozen legends off the stage with a life-changing solo after a lame magazine had left him off their top guitarist list. Boy, did he ever get even. These stories, they're so inspirational, and they're coming up next on The Professor of Rock. Hey music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time, especially today. If you remember this sound, you'll dig this channel with deep musical nostalgia. Make sure to subscribe below right now to be a part of our Music History Daily, straight from the artist. So lately, I've been reflecting on the healing power of music. Lots happened over the past couple of years, even the past couple of weeks, both in my personal life and in life overall for all of us. It's kind of been a punch to the gut with what we're living through. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, it doesn't matter. It matters that we come together. I truly love what I do on this channel, but I want to be even more intentional about helping people come together through the power of music. Try to find our commonality through music. Because no matter who we are, where we come from, or what we believe, music has a way of cutting through the noise and showing us what really matters. It can unite us for good if we let it. I've been thinking back on the countless concerts I've attended over the years, and something really jumps out at me. Forget AI, it can't touch a live performance. At a concert, people from every walk of life are standing shoulder to shoulder, united by the music, united by the energy there. And that's how it should be in life too. So today, as a reminder of how powerful these moments of unity can truly be, I want to count down the top 7 most magical and unifying live performances since 1985. The last 40 years. Let's get started. So first up at number 7, we're featuring the late great Ozzy Osbourne and the concert that dominated headlines this past summer. On July 5th, 2025, at Villa Park in Birmingham, England, the Prince of Darkness gave his final performance before departing this world. Fittingly, the once-in-a-lifetime Back to the Beginning event reunited Black Sabbath's original lineup for the first time in decades. For Ozzy, it was the ultimate homecoming, staged in the very city where it all began. The day itself on a scale worthy of his legend. More than 25 acts played in support of this, from heavyweights like Metallica and Slayer and Guns N' Roses to Pantera, Alice in Chains, Hellstorm, Sammy Hagar, and Tom Morello. But beyond the music, it was a benefit for the ages. It raised over $190 million for Cure Parkinson's, Birmingham's Children's Hospital, and Acorn's Children's Hospice. But everyone knew the night belonged to the man, to Ozzy. As the sun set over Villa Park, anticipation built for the headliner's arrival. Advanced Parkinson's disease had slowed his body, but definitely not his resolve. With 45,000 fans roaring in unison, Ozzy rose from beneath the stage on a custom black throne, a dramatic entrance that instantly sent chills across the stadium. He opened his solo set with I Don't Know, then launched into Mr. Crowley and Suicide Solution. He shifted gears for the emotional centerpiece Mama, I'm Coming Home, a song that carried added weight as a farewell message to the fans who stood by him for decades, as well as his beloved wife. Finally, he closed the solo set with the immortal Crazy Train. Now, the side of Ozzy, seated but triumphant, leading the audience through the chorus one last time, became the defining image of the evening for sure. And then came the reunion everyone had waited for. The stage lights dimmed to the haunting intro of Black Sabbath, and soon the band stormed into War Pigs. Tony Iommi's riffs rang out like thunder, while Geezer Butler's bass rumbled through the stands. They barreled through so many classics like Iron Man and NIB, classics that built the DNA of heavy metal itself, before closing with Paranoid, punctuated by fireworks exploding into the Birmingham night sky. Roger Taylor once described Queen's Live Aid set as watching the whole place go bonkers in unison. And that's exactly what Sabbath achieved in their final bout with Ozzy, an eruption of unity and nostalgia and raw volume. Of course, 17 days later, on July 22nd, 2025, Ozzy Osbourne passed away surrounded by his family. But his farewell at Villa Park, it wasn't a goodbye. It was a coronation, a voice for outsiders, a showman who defined the genre's dark majesty. Ozzy's legacy lives on in the riffs, the records, and the countless misfits that he inspired. R.I.P. Ozzy, we already miss you. Next up at number 6, it's a band that for decades we all thought there's no way they would ever share a stage again. No way. I mean, when pigs fly, right? Well, in this case, flying pigs actually were part of the show. Because on July 2nd, 2005, on a blistering London evening, something unbelievable happened. David Gilmour, Roger Waters, Nick Mason, and Richard Wright reunited as Pink Floyd's classic quartet for the first time in a decade and a half. I mean, it was a dream come true for Pink Floyd fans around the world. The stage was Hyde Park. The event was Live Aid, Bob Geldof's worldwide charity concert calling on leaders to make poverty history. But for rock fans, it was also the site of one of the most unlikely reunions in music. I would say the most unlikely, even more than the Eagles. Back in the late 70s and early 80s, Pink Floyd had imploded in spectacular fashion. During the Wall sessions, Roger Waters had consolidated control of the band for sure. He eventually forced Richard Wright out. We've talked about it before. He went on to dominate the making of 1983's The Final Cut, and then he announced Floyd was finished. David Gilmour didn't agree, though. In 1987, he took the reins for a momentary lapse of reason, sparking lawsuits and an ugly war of words over who owned the name. Who owned Pink Floyd? By the 90s, though, Gilmour, Wright, and Mason carried on with the division bell, but the rift with Roger Waters seemed permanent. I mean, for most fans, the idea of reconciliation was a fantasy. There was no way in hell a Pink Floyd reunion was ever going to happen. That's why the Live Aid announcement, it felt so surreal. On that July night, more than 200,000 fans gathered at Hyde Park, with millions more watching worldwide to see a moment once deemed impossible. Pink Floyd's set, it was short, but it was unforgettable. Speak to Me, Breathe, Money, Wish You Were Here, and the soul-stirring Comfortably Numb.
Monday, so they say, wish you were here, have become comfortably numb.
The giant screens displayed the iconic pig from Animals floating past Battersea Power Station, while David Gilmour's guitar cut through the summer air like a clarion call. I mean, the symbolism was undeniable. After years of Venom, they were shoulder to shoulder again. David Gilmour later admitted that in that moment, the petty things just melted away. And when the final solo of Comfortably Numb rang out, the four men stepped forward and embraced. A brief gesture that became an immortal image in rock history. Roger Waters summed it up perfectly. It was terrific fun to let bygones be bygones. Fans had just witnessed truly the unthinkable. In just 20 minutes, Pink Floyd reminded the world why their music had endured across generations. It was bigger than egos. It was bigger than the band itself. The image of Roger Waters and David Gilmour standing side by side, joined by Mason and Wright, was a revelation that no matter our differences, music is truly the great connector, the great unifier. The Live Aid performance didn't lead to a permanent reunion, but it gave us more than we ever could have expected. That fleeting set was enough to remind everyone of Pink Floyd's undisputed place in the pantheon of rock's all-time greatest bands. And also that if Pink Floyd can be on the same stage and inspire millions, there's hope for all of us. We can all get along. Right, in at number 5, I've got a double dose of the great Phil Collins at Live Aid in 1985. In a whirlwind 16-hour marathon, Phil Collins did what no one else had ever done. He played to 2 audiences on 2 continents in a single day. The summer of 1985 marked Live Aid, the brainchild of Bob Geldof and Midyear, a global benefit stage to fight famine in Ethiopia. On July 13th, the world stopped. Over 1 billion people turned in as the biggest names in music lit up twin stages at Wembley Stadium in London and JFK Stadium in Philadelphia. I mean, it was a global jukebox, and somehow Phil Collins managed to drop the needle on both sides of the Atlantic, which was perfect because he was the biggest star in 1985. Now you think about it, by this point, Phil Collins was the face of the mid-'80s. I mean, his Grammy-winning album, No Jacket Required, had made him, in the words of one critic, an unstoppable commercial force. I mean, that album alone delivered 4 top 10 singles, including back-to-back #1 hits, One More Night and Sussudio. I mean, between his solo career and his time with Genesis, he was everywhere. Radio, MTV, film soundtracks. I mean, the man had 15 top 10 hits and 8 #1 hits in like 4 years. It's incredible. But no one expected Phil Collins to pull off being everywhere in one day. Phil Collins started the morning in London. At Wembley, he sat at a white grand piano opening with Against All Odds, Take a Look at Me Now, a #1 hit from '84. So take a look at me now. Before unfurling the haunting In the Air Tonight. The stripped-down delivery made both songs feel even more vulnerable. And I can feel it. Then joined by Sting, he offered a pair of duets. Phil's album track, Long, Long Way to Go, followed by Sting's classic, Every Breath You Take. You belong to me. But that was just his warm-up. With his first set complete, Phil Collins hopped on a helicopter to Heathrow. Then he boarded the supersonic Concorde. The flight time from London to New York was just over 3 hours, and Phil Collins spent it chatting with Cher, convincing her to join the Philadelphia finale later that night. Touching down, he grabbed another helicopter to JFK Stadium. By the time he walked on stage in Philly, he could just grin. That's all he could do. He said, "I was in England this afternoon." Funny old world, isn't it? He repeated his solo set, Against All Odds and In the Air Tonight. Then he slid behind the drum kit for Eric Clapton's 3-song run, White Room, She's Waiting, and Layla. And then came the evening's most talked about act, Led Zeppelin's first reunion since John Bonham's death in 1980. So Phil Collins and Tony Thompson tag-teamed on drums as Jimmy Page, Robert Plant, and John Paul Jones tackled Rock and Roll, Whole Lotta Love, and Stairway to Heaven. Sure, the results were ragged on that part, but the moment was iconic nonetheless. Phil Collins was playing with Zeppelin on one continent after duetting with Sting on another just hours before that. Can you even imagine? Yeah, I'm so glad that Phil Collins is finally getting the acclaim he deserves as one of the greatest voices and hit makers of his time. I mean, the critics used to rip him. He's been popular on Instagram with young people. He's one of the most sampled rock artists ever, rappers. He's the only legend who looked like your math teacher or your accountant and could do this. But above all, Phil Collins' Live Aid feat entered pop mythology, a logistical high-wire act that captured the spirit of the day. The man who had 5 #1 singles in a row in 1985 also had his name etched into history as the only artist to conquer both Live Aid stages. On July 13, 1985, Phil Collins was everywhere at once, and for one extraordinary day, so was the music. All right, in at number 3, we're featuring a concert that helped us all heal in the wake of a national tragedy. Talking about America, Tribute to Heroes in autumn 2001 after the September 11th attacks.
I'm in a New York state of mind.
New York's wounded heart was given a voice here. On October 20th, Madison Square Garden hosted a massive charity concert for 9/11 relief and for first responders. Paul McCartney organized legends from The Who to Mick Jagger, but it was homegrown voices that truly moved this city. And of course, Billy Joel, the native son.
I'm in a New York state of mind.
He sat at a grand piano under a solemn spotlight. New York State of Mind was the song that captured the moment, filling the garden with hope and resolve. He actually did the same thing on the separate telecast on national TV. Look at this scene.
But I know what I'm needing.
What made Joel's set so moving wasn't just the songs, but how he delivered them. As both a grieving New Yorker and a proud one. When he played New York State of Mind, it felt like a lifeline, reminding the crowd that even in tragedy, the city spirit, it endured.
New York state of mind.
His voice filled Madison Square Garden with resilience and hope, and on that separate telecast as well. For many, it was a turning point that night. But there was another amazing performance from that night that I also want to touch on. It wasn't from a seasoned veteran, but a new rookie on the scene, Five for Fighting. I gotta say, I was never a fan of this one-man band. In fact, I loathed Five for Fighting. Till I met this guy. He's such an amazing person. I'm now a fan. Five for Fighting is the stage name of singer-songwriter John Ondrasik, an LA native who grew up idolizing Elton John and Billy Joel. His first album, Message for Albert, that made little noise, but in 2000 he broke through with America Town. It was anchored by the fragile ballad Superman It's Not Easy. A lot of songs about Superman back then.
I'm more than a bird, I'm more than a plane.
The song slowly climbed to number 14 on the Hot 100 in 2001 and became a defining anthem after the September 11th attacks. Its themes of vulnerability and resilience struck a chord with a lot of people at that moment.
The right to dream, and it's not easy.
Ondrasik, he was invited to perform Superman in front of first responders and grieving families. And this really was the song for the moment. So John told me in an interview I did that he was getting ready to perform his signature song, and his earpiece that played all the instruments and everything, it went crazy and it screeched in his ears. And it wasn't working. He thought, I'm dead in the water. I can't hear myself. I can't hear anything. Then he looked out in the crowd and he saw dozens of policemen and firemen. They were singing every word. And tears were streaming down their face. And soon, tears were streaming down John's face. And he forgot about everything and sung along, and it was a perfect moment. All right, coming in at number 3 on our countdown of unforgettable live performances. For this one, I'm going to rewind to February 4th, 2007. The stage, Dolphin Stadium in Miami. The stakes, Super Bowl 41, Indianapolis Colts versus Chicago Bears. But for millions of us, the real headline wasn't the score. It was the halftime show. The headliner was Prince. And what was supposed to be a logistical nightmare, pouring rain on a massive stage, it turned into an epic episode of rock and roll theater. Nearly 75,000 fans packed the stadium while an estimated 140 million watched on television. Prince stepped out in a turquoise suit, wielding his signature guitar as rain fell in sheets all around him.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today.
I mean, most performers would have panicked at the thought of slick stages and wet electronics. But Prince, he saw the storm as an ally. It was as if he had summoned it himself. From the first drum beat, the purple one, he seized control, reminding everyone why he was one of the most commanding live performers of any generation.
Are y'all ready to get nuts tonight? Let me hear you scream.
I mean, the set was a 12-minute blitz of highlights. Highlight after highlight after highlight. He opened with a stomping tease of Queen's We Will Rock You. He knew how to open the show, of course. Then the stage lifted as he ripped into Let's Go Crazy, fireworks bursting behind him. And the Florida A&M University Marching 100 joined him on the glowing cymbal-shaped stage, as did his dancers, the Twins, as he rolled into Baby I'm a Star.
Take your hands and clap them just like this. Hey.
From there, Prince surprised everybody by slipping into a swampy cover of Creedence Clearwater Revival's Proud Mary. Then he snapped back into his own 1999. I mean, the transitions were seamless. This was an artist at peak confidence, bending genres and generations to his will.
Count it.
Prince wasn't done, though. He launched into a guitar-heavy medley that paired Bob Dylan's All Along the Watchtower with Foo Fighters' Best of You, a nod to past and present that showcased his ability to turn any song into a Prince song. And then came the finale. The lights dimmed, the crowd roared, and as the first chords of Purple Rain rang out, the skies opened even wider.
Purple rain, purple rain.
Prince stood there, silhouette projected on a giant sheet, guitar raised as literal purple rain poured down. I mean, he later joked that he told the crew to make it rain harder. That storm became part of the performance, though, turning every note into myth. The show instantly went down in history as the greatest Super Bowl halftime performance of all time. After that, album sales for Prince spiked, but more than commerce, the night reaffirmed his singular brilliance. I mean, he turned a football field into a cathedral of rock, transforming bad weather into divine theater. When Prince walked off that stage, he didn't just set a new bar for halftime shows. He created the purple standard. And it's kind of a joke when you watch the last few Super Bowl shows, truly. Then, of course, the lead up to this amazing night, 3 years before this, is when he showed everyone up at the 2004 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction. When the guitarist was joined on stage by Tom Petty, Jeff Lynne, Steve Winwood, and son of a Beatle, Donnie Harrison, he blew everyone off the stage. And it turns out, it was actually his ultimate revenge. Prince was slighted by Rolling Stone because they left him off their list of the 100 greatest guitar players of all time. It was a list they'd released the year before. His anger and his pain fueled his earth-shaking performance of While My Guitar Gently Weeps. And seriously, I've watched this probably 200 times. Who hasn't? This is Prince at his best. And I love how he throws the guitar up at the end, just kind of walks off like, yeah, nobody's going to touch me. It was the ultimate one-finger salute to Rolling Stone. Ah, gotta love Prince. So we made it to number 2, the runner-up slot, the bridesmaid position, and I'm gonna share a very unpopular opinion here. I'll get a lot of hate for this one, I can guarantee it. But for my money, this one is the best MTV Unplugged performance of the 90s, or really ever. Alice in Chains. Like I said, I'm going to get a lot of pushback, but I'm not joking here. This was an incredible landmark moment, raw and unforgettable. As you might remember, back in the 90s, MTV Unplugged was a massive event. It was more than just another showcase, though. It was one of the biggest stages in popular music. Everyone was getting into it. I mean, there was popular bands of the time like Roxette, there was Springsteen, there was Rod Stewart, Alanis Morissette, there was Sting, Bob Dylan, 10,000 Maniacs, Stone Temple Pilots, Page and Plant, there was Queensryche, Pearl Jam, and Nirvana from that moment. Of course, Nirvana Unplugged gets all the headlines all the time, especially since Kurt Cobain's death came soon after. And when Eddie Vedder took off his hat and shook his hair out right before he launched into a heart-wrenching version of Alive, that was definitely a revelation, for sure. It blew me away. But Alice in Chains deserves its flowers. Let's set the stage. April 10th, 1996, after 2.5 years away from the stage, and with the Seattle scene all but dying. In the rearview mirror, it was, with boy bands and teen pop taking over and hip hop. The band gathered at the Brooklyn Academy of Music, and there Lane Staley walked out. He was gaunt, he was frail, but he was resolute. He delivered a performance that still sends chills down spines almost 3 decades later. He didn't do it for fame. He did it because he had to get those songs out. Lane Staley's battle with the drug I can't say on here, it rhymes with heroin, had been raging for years. It left Alice in Chains on a hiatus, and fans, they wondered if they'd ever perform together again.
Fight this battle all alone.
That night, though visibly weakened, Lane Staley drew on every ounce of his strength to give fans one last look at his pure brilliance. Sitting in dark sunglasses, he looked fragile for sure. But the moment he opened his mouth for the haunting opener, Nutshell, it was clear the voice was still there. The demons were all too real. And lines like, "If I can't be my own, I'd feel better dead," they hit even harder.
I feel better there.
Lane gave us what might be the definitive version of Nutshell, a song already more heart-rending than anything else he'd ever written, or anybody had written for that matter. I mean, fans were floored. I was floored. I just watched it with my 16-year-old son, and it meant just as much to him as it did to me back then. For me, Lane Staley is the greatest singer of the last 35 years. He just is.
If I can be my own.
The set ran 13 songs, each stripped down but still heavy with emotion. Highlights included No Excuses, with Jerry Cantrell harmonizing in lockstep.
Myself, no excuses, and I know.
Down in a Hole, where Staley's delivery felt like a plea from the abyss.
Down in a hole.
And of course, Rooster, where the acoustic format only amplified the song's chilling atmosphere. The band closed with Wood, their tribute to Andrew Wood from Mother Love Bone. And then they introduced a new song called The Killer Is Me. Spoiler alert, it was a glimpse of what might have been had the band been able to move forward in any fashion.
Killer is me.
For fans, the concert was an intimate reminder that beneath the sludge and the distortion, Alice in Chains' songwriting was as real as it got, as real as it gets. MTV aired the performance to great acclaim, and the live album released that July debuted at number 3 on the Billboard 200. They still had it. But even as the record hit shelves, tragedy loomed. After just 4 shows of Alice in Chains opening for Kiss, Lane Staley overdosed in Kansas City on July 3rd, 1996. He survived, but it would be the last time he ever set foot on a stage. Now, Alice in Chains never formally disbanded, but Lane Staley withdrew entirely from public life as addiction consumed him. In April 2002, he was found dead in his Seattle apartment at just 34 years of age. I remember exactly where I was. Did you? For fans, the MTV Unplugged performance remains a painful but priceless keepsake. A fragile, brilliant artist giving us one final unfiltered glimpse of his gift. To this day, people revisit that set for solace and to remember the voice that helped define grunge at its most haunting. Lane Staley deserved better. He did. Man, you know, it seemed like when he passed away, everybody had already given everything for Kurt Cobain. And not to take anything away from Kurt Cobain, but Lane Staley, he deserved better. He was the best voice of that generation. I'll go to the grave with that one. All right, we've arrived at the number 1 concert on this countdown, number 1 live performance, and really this one was easy. Nobody else could have it. Queen at Live Aid.
Her Majesty, Queen!
By the mid-'80s, Queen was at a crossroads. They dominated the '70s with Bohemian Rhapsody, We Will Rock You, and We Are the Champions. In America, they scored back-to-back number 1s with Crazy Little Thing Called Love and Another One Bites the Dust. But you know, the early 80s brought turbulence. Hot space, it was divisive. Their image suffered blowback and musical trends were shifting fast. For many, Queen, they felt adrift, like a has-been. So when Bob Geldof announced Live Aid, a benefit for famine relief in Ethiopia, it was a chance for them to resurrect themselves. Live Aid came with strict rules. No sound checks, equal sound volume for every artist, and a hard 20-minute time cap. Some bands struggled with the format, but Queen, they treated it like a prize fight. Beginning July 10th, the band locked themselves in London's Shaw Theatre and rehearsed relentlessly. They cut transitions to the bone, tightening the pace. Every second mattered on this thing, and it was all prolific. On the evening of July 13th, just before 7 p.m., Queen took the Wembley stage to a wall of sound. Freddie Mercury hit the piano and launched into Bohemian Rhapsody. Then without pause, the band shifted into Radio Gaga. Suddenly, the entire stadium was clapping in unison, 90,000 pairs of hands striking in perfect time. Freddie Mercury then rose from the piano, half a mic stand in hand like a silver scepter, and he went into this call and response. Those few syllables became a stadium-sized chorus, Freddie conducting tens of thousands like a cathedral choir.
All right.
Then the set turned muscular. Hammer to Fall hit with clenched fist adrenaline. Mercury prowled every inch of the stage, locking eyes with the audience as well as the cameras. Next, Freddie strapped on a Telecaster and flipped the mood to rockabilly with a crazy little thing called Love. And of course, the finale was myth-making. We Will Rock You erupted not as a full version, but as a thunderclap. Stomp, stomp, clap. One verse, one chorus, capped by May's needlepoint solo. And then Freddie slid to the piano and he struck the opening notes of We Are the Champions. The communion between band and audience, it was complete. Freddie leaned into each vowel as if bending time itself. May's harmonies skyrocketed, Taylor's cymbals shimmered, and Deacon's bass held the beat. On the final line of The World, Freddie punched the air and he sealed rock history. The entire sequence, it was bulletproof. Queen understood the global jukebox mandate better than anyone. Cut the fat, unleash the hits, and dominate the moment. Bob Geldof later said it so well, and I quote, "They smashed one hit after another. The perfect stage for Freddie, which is the whole world." When their 20 minutes were up, Queen walked off, not just as conquerors, fittingly, as the champions of the world. That's all I got to say. So that's my top 7 greatest live performances that inspire us and uplift us. I want to create more content like this. I want to create more, get rid of the division here. Let's come together. Music is the unifier, the uniter, the great connector. Leave us a comment. What are the most inspirational live performances you've seen? What else can we do here? What is your feedback on that? Let's have some great memories below. Guys, we got to come together. Thank you so much. Till next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friend.